If you have ever connected with someone on LinkedIn and then immediately wondered, like, okay, I did, now what? You know how Summer keeps saying, add your LinkedIn to the chat and then let's connect. Okay, I did. And then what? Because a lot of connections just sit there collecting digital dust. You know how we love this particular phrase, collecting digital dust, which nobody uses. So Brenda Marie Sheldrake is a lead generation specialist. She knows exactly how to turn those cold strangers into warm collaborators without having to be salesy, awkward, weird, creepy. She built a system that brought in 3,000 qualified leads in 1 year, and she's never paid anything for ads. Isn't that fabulous? So her whole philosophy is very simple. Visibility is not vanity. Your ideal clients actually want to know what you're all about. Today, she's giving us her three-step script to start conversations that matter and relationships that last. Let's welcome Brenda. Oh, hold on. Unmute.
Thank you.
Sorry.
I, I was gagged. Literally.
Sorry.
The previous conversation had me gagged, literally. But thank you, everybody. I am Brenda Marie Sheldrake. I am the Biz Leads expert at Biz Leads Expert. And since COVID, I have been teaching entrepreneurs how to generate more qualified leads for their business through relationship building, how to take those strangers and turn them into friends, and how to stop wasting time on getting to know you calls with tire kickers and get down to business with people who know what you do and want to meet with you. So when you get the request on LinkedIn, if you've taken my training, when you get the request on LinkedIn and somebody says, I'd like to meet with you, if you follow the steps, they know what you do and they want your help, which means that you can make an offer more quickly. So today, what I wanted to talk to you about is the first step of building those relationships, and it is that you're not pitching, you're not selling. What you're doing is opening the door to possibilities. So there are three parts to the script, and it is so at the top level is connection, conversation, followed by collaboration. So if you're starting a connection, you want to start with being warm, human, and personal. And when you're having that conversation with them, and Summer is great at this. Summer is really amazing at this. And the events that she hosts, she fosters this kind of conversations. So when you get into the conversation, you want to have conversation through curiosity driven questions. So one of the things when I'm coaching with people, one of the first things that I say to people is if you've booked a one-to-one with somebody, you need to do your homework. So you need to know what they do before you get on the call with them. Now, if you know what they do before you get on the call with them, then starting your conversation with the question, so what do you do, is kind of pointless. And in fact, if you think about it, it makes the person you're talking to feel less than special, for sure, right? Because if they've taken the time to create a LinkedIn profile and you've connected with them through that LinkedIn profile, and then when you get on the call with them, the first thing you say is, what do you do? They're going, can you read? So you're starting off on a bad foot. If you better to ask questions like, if I'm looking at Summer's profile and I'm looking at the fact that she creates all of these summits, I would say, so Summer, why is it that you decided to create summits and not have one-to-one calls with a bunch of people? Or I would talk to Jen about CRMs. I know she always says you need to talk to my husband when you're asking about that, but I know that Jen has knowledge about CRMs too. So if I would ask her, is there something, is there if you were gonna say the one thing about Go High Level that you feel makes it really special, makes it better than anything else, what would you say was the thing that you like the best? Now, when I ask a question like that, it doesn't matter whether Jen is a Go High Level expert or a Go High Level user. I haven't set her up for a question that she can't answer because every single one of you who are in this room who like Go High Level, if I asked you, why do you like Go High Level? You could answer that question with an answer. Now, depending on how long you've been using Go High Level, your answers may vary. You might say, I like Go High Level because everything is in one place. Well, that's true. That's totally true, and it answered my question. So that's what I mean by questions that are curiosity driven. It's the why question. It's the how did you land on this? It's the when you're looking at someone's profile. When I look at Alka's profile and I ask her, Alka, your art is so beautiful, but I have to ask, you're carrying all those rocks from the lake. Why rocks? Well, that's going to start a conversation with Alka because painting on rocks is something that she's passionate about. And she has a story that can go with it. And we've heard other speakers today talk about the value of sharing stories. So it opens the door that lets Alka share a story. If you're asking people questions that open that door and allow them to share a story, you're going to make that person feel more important. And if you can continue to follow along that story and engage with it in your conversation, then that is the path to helping the person to feel understood and valued as well. So the third C is collaboration. You want to transition naturally into opportunities. And the only way you can transition naturally into opportunities is if you are asking questions that will reveal those opportunities. So let's go back to connection now. What makes a strong first message? Because we want to start with a genuine interaction that feels human and not transactional. You don't want to ask them, you don't want to ask Alka, how much are your rocks? You want to ask her questions that acknowledge, first of all, acknowledge her, create comfort because it's something that she's very familiar with, open the door to a reply. So, what I mean by open the door to a reply is you don't want yes or no questions. I'm sure you've all had conversations where you've had to it's almost like pulling teeth getting into an interaction with the person. Well, that can be partly your fault. If you're asking questions that are yes or no questions, then the person you're talking to is probably not going to be feeling inclined to volunteer a bunch more information. So you need to ask questions that at least create sentences where you can look for points that you can connect with, points that you can relate to. And avoid pitching or dumping your bio. This is another thing about building connection. If I booked the call, then I expect that whoever I'm on the call with is going to do the majority of the talking on that call. My agenda, unless I am clear in the purpose for booking the call, unless I say, Summer, you talked about wanting to connect with more speakers for your summits. I know a bunch of speakers, so I could share some information with you about how to meet speakers and about some of the speakers that I know. That's a different kind of call. But if I said, Summer, I want to book a call, and Summer and I had a call like this a long time ago. That's how we started this journey out. Summer, I want to book a call where I learn more about what you do, why you do it, who you do it for. So I've set my expectations. So when Summer shows up on the call, if you launch into a pitch when you're talking at the beginning of that call, Summer feels deceived. And once you deceive somebody, you're going to have to work really hard to get back in their good books. So if you tell somebody, I want to know what you do, why you do it, and who you do it for, I want to have a conversation about that on our call, then you best make sure that those are some of the conversations, pointing questions that you start your conversation with. And don't dump your bio, because your bio doesn't make them feel special. You can make them feel special by asking questions about their bio that you saw on LinkedIn, but don't just start off by dumping yours. So, the structure of a powerful connection message is something personal or specific that you noticed. You can get that from their profile, you can get that from their LinkedIn, you can get that from their Facebook, you can get that from their website. Sometimes what I look for is their most recent post that they've done on social media, and then I look for something in that I can make a genuine compliment or show appreciation for. And a genuine compliment was not, it's really cool how you said. A genuine compliment, why do you find that special? Why did you find it interesting? When you said, when you shared all of that information on durian, I found it really interesting because I've heard of the fruit, but I've never known anything about it. And it was really interesting that you created a social media post about it as well. Why do you like durian so much? A simple, low pressure reason for reaching out. So don't start your conversation with I'm looking to collaborate. If that's your first sentence, then I hope that the person already knows you and you already know the person and you're very familiar with what you both do. Because there's a greater degree of intensity to that question. So you want to start off with low pressure reasons for reaching out. So here's an example. Thanks for connecting, Summer. I loved your recent post on confidence for new speakers. Your point about practicing in community really resonated, and I'm so glad we're connected. And I'd like to know a little more about how you create those connections. So why does this work? This message does three things. First of all, it makes Summer feel seen. Secondly, we're talking about something that Summer already showed expertise on, so it makes her feel safe. There's no trap, there's no gotcha. And third, it gives her something to respond to. So once we get past that connection point, then we want to encourage conversation. And if it's your first meeting with somebody, you want to keep things fairly light and natural, but you still want to discover alignment with them. So too many entrepreneurs are either asking nothing, asking too much, or asking something that feels like a lead qualification form. The secret is one question that will encourage natural conversation. So here's some examples of curiosity-driven questions. What inspired the work you do? Who do you love serving the most? What exciting projects are you working on right now? What's something you're celebrating in your business this month? These are single questions, but they lower barriers because people love talking about themselves. If you think about it, if you're really, really, really honest, for most of us, our favorite subject is ourselves. We love to have the opportunity to share what's happening, to share what's special, to share what's important. And you can get context for potential collaborations later. But you can still find, if I ask you, who do you love serving the most? I can still find out whether there's any alignment there. I have people that I work with who love serving people who are tradespeople, people who work in the trades. Now, I don't work in the trades. One of those people is here in this room today. My friend Sandy, who joined me today at this summit, I'm so thrilled to have her in the room. When you ask Sandy what she does, she says that she works with tradespeople. She helps them with their books. She helps them to feel more confident when it comes time for taxes. But she is not an accountant. She's a bookkeeper. But I can still find ways to work with Sandy. In fact, Sandy's doing a master class for my community tonight. It's one of the joint opportunities. Those are ways that we work together. So people love talking about themselves. And like I said, it gives you the context. Once we have that conversation going, and you can go, as long as you don't turn it into just a straight up interview, you can go from question to question because it's okay. If I say, Summer, who do you love serving? Summer tells me who she loves serving. If there's any alignment whatsoever, then I'm going to say, that's really interesting. I love serving that group too. I love serving speakers. I love working with speakers. My favorite thing about working with speakers is, and then I tell her what my favorite thing is, and it's the variety of things that I can learn from these people. So then Summer's already said she loves working with speakers. Okay, this is what a conversation is. A conversation is kind of like a tennis match. The ball goes over the net, you send the ball back. The ball goes over the net, you send the ball back. But we're not going at an intensity that's trying to drive the ball into the ground and win the match. What we're doing is having a friendly exchange. So I share why I like working with those entrepreneurs, and then I say, what makes you pick them as your favorite? Why are they your favorite? And then you can go on to another question. You can go in a totally different direction too if it feels better that way. But the questions, you can let questions die naturally. I have, so here's, I have no children. I've never had children. I have one very challenging fur baby, but I have no children. But I always ask when I'm on a call with somebody, especially if they say anything about their kids, then I ask, oh, how old are they? How many do you have? Because that's another thing parents love talking about. Now, is it going to qualify them for whether you want to work with them or not? Well, the only way it's going to qualify them is if you absolutely don't want to work with someone who has really small toddlers because you think the toddlers take too much attention, then maybe you just disqualified somebody. But I would suggest that before you disqualify them, that you find out a little more about their parenting style and about what they do. So maybe you're going to have more conversation around that. Maybe they have a live-in nanny. Maybe there's a live-in nanny who takes care of the baby half the time. You can have conversation about those things. Now, when we get to step 3 and we're looking for collaboration, you want to create a natural pathway to referrals, partnerships, or clients without feeling forced. Collaboration is the answer to, I don't want to feel salesy in this exchange. It's my first call with you and I don't want to feel salesy. Well, if you don't want to feel salesy, don't offer to sell them something. Very simple. Don't sell them something. You can ask. So, when I don't want to sell somebody something, what I say is, so, Jen, tell me who else your ideal client would be getting services from. Now, that's a question that I hope that you all write down because I ask it all the time and I get some of the weirdest answers sometimes. I know people didn't understand my question. I say, who else serves the people that you want to serve? And they say, oh, my competition is this person and this person and this person who does paid ads and this person who teaches lead generation. No, I didn't ask you who your competition was. First of all, because I don't believe in competition. I believe that in abundance, and I believe that there are so many people on this planet that I don't want to serve every one of them for multiple reasons. One, I couldn't keep up, and two, there's simply some people around that I just don't resonate with and don't get along with. So, if you look for collaboration, if you're asking who else they want to work with, that's how you form collaborations. Because if Jen says, well, I'm looking for we've got our version of Go High Level event, we've got Event Raptor, and with Event Raptor, it's really good for people who are doing events, obviously, since it's Event Raptor. It's very good for people who host events. It's very good for people who want to do those, want to do summits, want to do speaking engagements. Then I know I can think of other people. So then it's like, oh, so maybe somebody who is like a podcasting coach who's helping people to become podcasters could provide you with some referrals. Maybe have you met the people from Speakers Playhouse? Because they teach people how to do summits, but they don't sell any software. So maybe there's something there that you could work out with them. Always be looking for the potential person that they could work with. I suggested when Sandy and I were talking, I said, so how many accountants are you connected with who could potentially give you people who bring them a shoebox? Right? Accountants hate the shoebox person. They hate the shoebox business person. So they would love to have some bookkeepers that they can refer the shoebox person to. Anybody in this room who's an accountant, think about it. You really don't want to work with the shoebox person. Twice as much work. So the transition line for this collaboration, for getting to this conversation without feeling forced, is I'm hearing a lot of alignment in what we do. Would you be open to a quick chat to explore how we might support each other? Whether it would be through referrals, introductions, collaborations, or something else. So, there's a few things in that sentence. It gives options, first of all. Would you be open? It takes the pressure away. It gives them the choice to say, we said it was going to be a 15-minute call and we've hit the 15-minute mark. Could we meet again? And it also shows generosity. You're not asking for another discovery call. You're offering possibilities. Keep in mind the possible outcomes of collaborations when you're offering possibilities. You might find a referral partner. You might be able to do a guest speaker swap. You could, Summer is illustrating one right here today. You could co-host an event with another entrepreneur. That gives you both increased visibility. You could offer or get warm introductions. They might say, when you say, who do you know who would like more help with getting more leads for their business? They might say, well, me. Then you've got an opening for a new client. And best of all, and this is one of my favorite things, and this is where I'm going to wrap up, you can get a trusted friend in business. It's the most precious thing you can get. Summer is one of my most valuable friends because we share a lot of alignment. I can ask her for advice. And most importantly, and I put it into the chat earlier today, Summer will call me on my crap when I need to be called on it. Summer will go, "You're not carrying your load. You're not doing what you said you would do. This is happening or that is happening, and it's not working." Your trusted friends are the ones who are going to tell you that stuff. The stranger is just going to walk away. So remember, when you're building relationships, one of the strongest and most valuable collaborations is that trusted friend in business. If you follow these shifts, it's going to feel more natural when you're having conversations. The relationship will warm up more quickly. You'll have demonstrated curiosity, built trust, and framed a collaboration that'll make a mutual benefit. And with that, I think I'm going to wrap up for questions.
Floor is open to questions. And Brenda, would you like to tell them about your gift?
Yes, I would love to tell them about my gift. So, my free gift for you is a set of scripts for doing all of these things that I've just described to you today. I have I have a script package for you that will allow you to follow what I've laid out here. For those of you who didn't take notes or didn't or couldn't keep up with everything that I was saying as quickly as I said it.
Amazing. That's fantastic. And we have a question from our next speaker. Go, Sam. Pretty
Hi,
hat.
thank you. The hat's part of what I'll talk about on my thing, so thank you. So Brenda, I just want to say thank you for your what you shared. And I do a lot of connection calls and get on calls with people, and unfortunately, they don't all understand the idea of collaborative discussion, and they try and do the pitch thing. What would you do if you're on a call with someone that's supposed to be just like a connection call and they start to pitch you? Do you pull back? Do you say, hey, can we refocus? Or what would your suggestion be to kind of re-center them?
So the first key to it is to make sure that you frame it when you're booking the call. So this is a getting to know you call. This is the things that I'm looking for in the call. In fact, if I feel, and I sometimes do this with people who are in direct sales, because no disrespect to anybody in this room who is in an MLM, because I belong to one myself, okay? But people in MLMs are more likely to pitch more quickly. So if I'm booking a call and I feel like I'm going to get pitched, I'll say, "I don't sell on my first call, and I would appreciate it if you don't either." Then when we get on the call, if they do start, I'm going to call a timeout real quick and say, "Hey, remember we said I wasn't going to sell to you and you agreed you wouldn't sell to me? Let's get to know each other here so that we can figure out if there is some way we can help each other."
Perfect. That is something a lot of people need to hear. Thank you. Thank you for the question, Sam.
Thank you.
I will get Melanie. Very quick question, Melanie. We have about 1 minute left.
Yeah, so really great presentation. I really loved it, Brenda. One of the things that just kind of brought forward is like, people want, as we realize, people start to want to connect with you, right, on LinkedIn. And I mean, a number of them are in my target market. So that's really, I will connect with them and not others. Do you have advice about, would you suggest that you connect with everybody who wants to, let's say even competitors, for example, or just to connect with your target market? What would your advice be on that?
That depends on how you're using the contacts.
Hmm.
For me, anybody who wants to connect, I'm going to connect with them
Okay.
because if they're not my ideal client, if they're not my target market, if they're
Hmm.
not Sometimes they turn out to be a good referral partner anyway.
Mhm.
But if they're not any of those things, then what I'm looking for in the conversation is I'm finding out what they're really good at and
Mhm.
what they need help with.
Mhm.
I put that information into my CRM.
Mhm.
Now, I never promise anybody that I'm going to find them leads or solutions, but
Mhm.
I tell them if I meet somebody,
Mhm.
unless I just simply like can't handle them when I meet them,
Mhm.
but otherwise I say, you know, if if I meet somebody who needs your help, I'll be glad to refer. I'm going to have your information in my CRM.
Okay.
And if I meet somebody who can solve the challenge that you just talked to me about, then I'll be happy to do an introduction. I don't guarantee they'll solve your problem, but they might.
Okay. Okay. All right.
Because then they'll keep you in mind when they go to other meetings too.
Okay. Perfect. Well, thank you. That's good.
Thank you, Melanie.
Mhm.
And Brenda and I follow the same principle, giving first.
Mhm.
Giving first, and 99% of the time, not expecting something back in return.